to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.
All right, everybody, Brian Engelman here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 2024 Republican Convention. I'm here with Gerald Morgan. What is it, the CEO of
Louder with Crowder, yes.
Right.
Not talented, but they consider me talented.
Oh, stop it. Real quick, how did you meet Steven? I don't even know that like the
backstory,
genesis,
the origin story
the
of
genesis,
meeting Steven
right.
Crowder. So we went to the same church, we knew some of the same people, we got connected.
What state was that? That was
in Texas. That's as drilled down as I'll go. In the state of Texas, we knew a couple of the same people. A girl got into a car accident. We both kind of came together and helped raise funds to get a computer for this person who ended up like bedridden basically for 6 months.
Wow.
Then we met each other months after that. And became fast friends, and then the rest is history.
And your hearts were kind of in the same place.
They were.
Like, hey, we're simpatico in that regard.
Absolutely. We hated liberals.
Okay, speaking of hating liberals, can we talk? And scene. Speaking of hating liberals, what happened on Saturday was pretty atrocious.
Yes.
How did that impact you, and how do you think that impacted the nation?
So I think it impacted the nation in a way that we haven't seen since probably Ronald Reagan, JFK. It impacted me in a very unique way because I got a phone call right before I took off from kind of ending my vacation on the way home. I have 3 young boys. So corralling them on an airplane is my primary focus. I get a phone call that says, hey, maybe Trump had a shooting or something. They loaded him on an ambulance, and I'm like, okay, maybe they're exaggerating. Maybe they're misunderstanding what's happening. But I'll check in on it when I land. So when I land, I see the triumphant fist pump picture, which is this shirt right here, right? So I didn't go through the is he okay, is everything okay kind of roller coaster of emotions. I went straight to he survived a shooting. Holy crap. But we've been calling this for a while. We've been saying that was most likely what was going to happen for a long time. Unfortunately, because the media has said, look, if he's Hitler, if he, like the baby Hitler argument, you can go back in time and kill baby Hitler, right? So if he's Hitler, you cannot then be, Jake Tapper, okay with him being okay. You're probably going to be disappointed, right? If he's a threat to democracy, if he's an existential threat, if he has to be stopped at all costs, then you have to understand that it means somebody will eventually go to this length. And they did, right? So that's what I thought. I thought Americans finally saw, like, look, demonizing a man to this point, and it came from the White House. It came from Joe Biden saying he's an existential threat to democracy. That was his campaign, which basically is gone now. He can't run on that.
Well,
who knows if he's going to run?
And the Fine People hoax.
Yes.
Oh, he praised neo-Nazis, and he never did that.
None of that
They cut out the middle part, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists.
Right.
The biggest hoax in American political history, some say.
Absolutely. Well, and Russia, right along with that, right? So people finally saw, look, if you're going to demonize a person like this, of course the natural end, if he's winning, which he is in swing states that weren't swing states last election, then what do? You have to go to the next extreme, and that's exactly what they did here.
Speaking of extreme, this Secret Service director, I'm not talking about resignation. I think she should be enhanced interrogation in Guantanamo Bay right now, under the assumption that this was an intentional hit. What say you? That
I think
130 yards away, if there's a roof, you know that's the first thing you protect. How did they not do it?
It's probably the first thing that I leave wide open, because I'm like, 130 yards, nobody's going to think we're not protecting that. That's absolutely going to be. So I did a video with Mr. Guns and Gear, and I had never shot an AR-15 before in my life. From a seated position, I was 5 of 5 at 100 yards. From a standing position, I was 4 of 5 at 100 yards. This is such an easy shot. There is no way in the world that roof should be left open. The more we find out, the more it's like, oh, it was a slanted roof. Really? It had a 1-degree slope and you couldn't put an agent on top of it? Oh, we set up on the second floor. That doesn't take care of the roof that's right above your head. There is no explanation so far that doesn't beat a conspiracy theory, and that's the problem. They need to come out very quickly with facts so that people will not rush to the extremes. I think most likely it was incompetence, but the more I hear, the more I hear about this, the more I'm like, I'm sorry, but the conspiracy theories are starting to sound more reasonable to me.
I'm seeing
I don't want to be in that place.
Walking outside the building.
I feel like I'm Alex Jones right now, and I'm like, there was 5 shooters on the roof of the water tower. Somebody was up there for sure, Gerald.
Like, I think that's really what happened. But you have to come out with information other than, well, it was a slanted roof, and we wanted to make sure. A 20-year-old kid had no problem with the slanted roof, so I think it was fine. Somebody needs to, look, going into retirement, just losing your job, I don't know, maybe stocks with like fruit being thrown at you for a week in the public square is a little bit more appropriate. Nothing too, punitive, but there has to be some kind of change in this.
Yeah.
The American people already don't trust their institutions. The American people
Rightfully
already
so.
don't trust their elections. The American people cannot, and certainly Donald Trump and future candidates cannot start not trusting the Secret Service to protect them. You don't have, think about this. If you're Donald Trump and you think that the Secret Service was in on this, how do you function as
Where do you
president?
go? Where do you go next?
There is no safe place.
But they said that Jill Biden went to the mall, so they had to take 30 off. I'm exaggerating slightly, but Jill went somewhere, so
well, they
they
put
took
the
half
C
the
team
team
with
away.
Donald Trump because he's the most assassinatable person on the planet, if that's a word. And you put the A team with Joe Biden, and then you don't give protection to RFK. Who wouldn't want to be, like, if you're crazy and you're going to try to kill somebody like this, a public figure, who wouldn't want to be the guy that killed the last Kennedy? Like, he's a target. You have to give him, absolutely, you have to give him protection. And apparently the Trump campaign asked for additional protection, and they were denied that request. And then there's all these inconsistencies with they knew 10 minutes before, they knew an hour before that he was a threat, but 10 minutes
22
before.
minutes. We're getting all these
Trump went
mile
on
markers.
stage. And then you have a guy like, it ended up being a transformative moment for the American public and for Donald Trump. But it could have very easily be, if not for the hand of God, it could have very easily been another JFK moment.
Gerald, I don't even want to mention it because I don't want to give this too much energy in my headspace. But what would this week have been like if Donald Trump was on a cold slab somewhere?
Wouldn't happen.
I couldn't have been here talking to people civilly and polite. I wouldn't have had it in me. Could you have been here pretending that everything's okay?
No,
I don't think I could have.
I've told people, look, before you start talking about going and picking up rifles, you need to make sure you go to the ballot box. And we haven't done that. In the 2022 red wave that never happened, 2 million Republicans stayed home. That was the reason we didn't have a red wave. So before you start saying, time to pick up rifles and go out and have a civil, don't do that, because you probably end up with a system worse than what you have right now. What you have to do is go to the ballot box and exhaust every possible means. But if they had succeeded,
oh my God,
there would have been absolute chaos in this country, and I would have understood it. I don't know how exactly I would have dealt with that, but I would have understood a lot of extreme views at that point, because all of the details around this, if they had come out and he had died, right now we're talking about a guy who had a grazed ear, right?
He got an ear piercing, as some of the people told me.
Basically, yeah. He's going to put a loop in it. It's going to be fine. But right now, that's what we're talking about. If we were talking about a president who had been shot and killed in front of all of us, I cannot imagine the chaos that would have ensued. Cannot imagine.
And what did you think about his speech tonight? Obviously,
I thought it was great.
He picked his successor, his vice president, J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on J.D. Vance, and what did you think about the speech tonight?
Let me start with J.D. Vance. J.D.'s young. J.D. Vance, 39, I think.
Okay.
Right? So he's 5 years younger than me. Jerk, you're vice presidential candidate. You're ruining it for everybody. So I think he's a really great pick to kind of stick it to people. And I say that because J.D. Vance is a young Donald Trump, right? When he picked Mike Pence, it was like the milquetoast version. Okay, Donald Trump's an extremist. Fine, I'll pick somebody who's like the least extreme person on the planet who happens to be a Republican.
It's like a super mild Dick Cheney.
Exactly.
Super
Like
mild
if he had
Cheney.
picked Tim Scott, that would have been kind of the equivalent of a Mike Pence, right? We've looked at that record. You look at the kind of person it is. It puts a lot of people at ease. J.D. Vance, on the other hand, says, this is who I am. This is who this guy is, and he's just getting started, so get used to it, right? That was a huge pick for him to make. On the speech, I think Donald Trump came out and he struck a different tone early. He was very much reserved. He was a changed man from this incident. And then he became Donald Trump. So I watched the speech from the floor. I was right next to the barricade before you get to the stage the entire time. And Donald Trump, you could see the prompter up on the screen. He probably was off prompter about 50% of the time.
It felt that way.
It was.
And I would have been
100%. I
fine
can
with
confirm.
a 6-hour speech. I would not have left the screen.
But here's the thing. He got stronger as he went. He started out slow. He started out more measured, more reserved. And then he started going off script. The more he went off script, the more he became the Donald Trump that we've known and loved. And here's the thing. He didn't go off script and just say, we're going to make America great again. And that wasn't on the script. He went off script and said, here's how high gas prices are. Here's how high inflation has been. Here's how high mortgage rates have been. He was quoting statistics from memory. Not something that Joe Biden can ever do. Joe Biden can't quote his age from memory, right? This man got better and better as the night went on. It's the longest acceptance speech officially in U.S. history.
Is it really?
Yes.
I did not know
candidate confirmed. I think it was an hour and 35 minutes, plus or minus.
God,
but it
it
was
felt like 2
absolutely
hours
the
at
longest.
least. Yeah.
I thought so too, but it was a fantastic speech. The longer he went, the better it got. And then he made some jokes. He's like, hey, let's look at the chart that I didn't really get a chance to look at because somebody tried to shoot me.
That was the highlight of the night.
And they kind of laughed it off.
The crowd went bonkers. They laughed, and because we're all so thrilled, like, oh my God, you stood up.
It's
and you
cathartic too. Think about this. We can laugh or we can cry, right? And in that moment, a lot of people were
100%.
crying. And what he did is gave us an opportunity to laugh. And we laughed with him, and we helped each other move past this moment that was chaotic and crazy. And this speech was going to be massive anyway. He's already winning. Like I said, swing states that aren't swing states, he's already winning in those states. New York is in play. What, are you kidding me? It's
within
the margin.
We were in the Bronx, and then we went to D.C. for the Libertarian Convention. It was back-to-back places he shouldn't be, and he went for it, and he faced tomatoes and booze, but the people in the Bronx loved him. Libertarians were a little wacky. They're purity tests. Nobody can match that, but he's going for it. He is a fearless. I've never seen a politician more fearless.
No, and here's what he wants. He wants the mandate. He doesn't want the Electoral College alone. He wants the popular vote as well. And he's going to places that you don't go unless you're just going for the popular vote. And I think I respect that a ton. But then Saturday happened, and this being his first kind of speech back in the public eye, it made it somehow bigger than it already was. I didn't think it was possible, and yet it was a bigger moment. And he matched it. So we have this to compare with Joe Biden, who had an easy layup of an interview, and he couldn't meet the moment. He said, we got the black guy. He couldn't even remember the name of the person he was trying to reference on
Lloyd
BET.
Austin.
Yeah,
I don't know, the black guy.
We got a black guy on there somewhere, right? We got a black guy, right, guys? Yeah, we got a black guy. They got a black guy. We're good.
It's like a Monty Python sketch at this point. Like, this isn't real.
At this point, it's a weekend at Bernie's. It's a weekend at Biden's. We've known this since he started running in 2019. This is not news to anybody other than Jake Tapper, Caitlin Collins. This guy has not been up to the challenge. And look, you can hate Joe Biden, you can love Joe Biden. Everybody knows Joe Biden should have ridden off into the sunset, cashed in those checks from Xi Jinping, and not worrying about anything else.
10% for the big guy.
And unfortunately, he started coming back into the public spotlight because Joe Biden and I guess Hunter Biden and everybody else in the Biden family don't care about Joe Biden. He's not capable of running the country. Here's the funny thing. Most people think he's going to drop out of the race on Sunday.
We're hearing that nonstop, right?
But he's going to keep the presidency. Now, help me understand this.
Wait,
is it harder to run for president, or is it harder to be president and actually execute the duties of the office? Joe Biden right now, if he drops out of the race and stays president of the United States, is telling you he's completely incapable of going and making speeches and shaking hands and kissing babies. But trust me with the nuclear codes. I have no idea how that makes sense to anybody on the planet.
What was that? The question from Ducey was, if it's past his daylight out, whatever they called it.
4 to 8? It was before 8 p.m. or something like that.
So if you call
the president after 8?
If you call it 11 p.m., are you getting Jill Biden? Who has the nuclear codes?
He's like,
who's running this
around
country?
him? Exactly. Not Joe Biden. We elect a president. We don't elect a staff. He's supposed to be the person in charge. When shit hits the fan, pardon my language, when it hits the fan, he's the person supposed to be in the room. Now, in this case, I'm glad he's not the person in the room, but it's also not the other people's responsibility who are not elected to be in the room. And it shouldn't be Kamala Harris. She'd be in the room on her knees. Just saying.
That's the California story, which is the place we fled.
Listen, you want the truth? We've had some beers. It's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, we need final thoughts. Final thoughts on Harry Sisson.
Harry Sisson. Quick final thoughts. If they get rid of Biden,
just a fact.
If they get rid of Biden, who do they go with? Is it Kamala, or are they going to go with the wild card with Michelle or
They cannot
Gavin?
pick anyone other than Kamala.
Because the money dries up and it's a weird
not only that,
financial,
but
legal.
You're telling me that the Democrat Party, that's all about inclusion and all about getting everybody in there, can pass over the first black female to be president of the United States? They would be dead as a party forever. But here's what they're going to do.
Funny to watch,
what they're going to do is say, hey, we're going to leave it up to the delegates. We're going to have an open convention, and so then it's off of our plate. And Kamala, you can run just like everybody else, and we absolutely 100% will not rig it against you. You're not
the Hillary Bernie Sanders trick,
It's exactly the case. That's what they're going to do, and they're going to open it up. I have no idea who's going to step in and be the sacrificial lamb, because Donald Trump is absolutely, unless Republicans play like they're ahead. If we go into prevent defense mode, it's not going to work. We have to play like we're 10 points down. If we do that, we win, walking away. I don't care if it's Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton teaming up, black, white, women across the board, doesn't matter.
Amen to that.
got a chance. Okay, so sum it up for us. The experience in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the several days. I know you've been busting your ass. You guys work really hard.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
grind,
sum it up for us.
Awesome, wonderful weather after day one, and fantastic beer to finish off the night.
Gerald Morgan, thank you so much. I just wanted to say what I told him off air. As an independent content creator, I really appreciate, what I said was, you're out in the forest, you are using your machete and you're paving a path. You're fighting the big tech censorship. You guys, and we are following that path. You don't even know we exist until tonight, but you know what? We are marching behind because we're trying to get to the same point, and that's just trying to figure out what's going on. Who, what, where, when, why. I don't need the deep state propaganda. I'm just trying to find out what's actually happening and how do we fix the country. So I appreciate what you're doing with Louder with Crowder.
Thank you very much.
And I just wanted to thank you for taking a few moments tonight with us here at the Republican Convention in Milwaukee.
Enjoy.
Cheers, folks.
Cheers. That was great, guys. Honestly, that was great.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.